America's Heartland is made possible by the American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, dedicated to building greater awareness and understanding of agriculture through education and engagement. More information at agfoundation.org. Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. The United Soybean Board, whose Common Ground program creates conversations to help consumers get the facts about farming and food. There's more at findourcommonground.com. The Fund for Agriculture Education, a fund created by KBIE to support America's Heartland programming. Contributors include the following.
Hi, I'm Jason Schultz. A lack of rain means dying grass and a wilted garden for most of us. But coming up, I'll take you to Wyoming, where drought conditions played a very different role for one woman farmer whose harvest turned bad news into good.
Hi there, I'm Rob Stewart. We're keeping our eyes to the skies this time as we examine just how devastating a drought can be. We're going to take you to Arkansas, but this story is not about corn or soybeans. It's about how devastating a drought can be for cattle ranchers and their livestock.
They have great color when you cook them, and you can serve them up plain or fancy. Hi, I'm Sharon Vaknin. I'll share some delicious recipes using green beans.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gardner. You've heard the phrase, milk does a body good. Well, once you turn it into cheese curds or ice cream, it does the taste buds pretty good too. I'll take you to an up-and-coming creamery in Wisconsin that's developed a wide range of products to meet consumer demand. It's all coming up on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
I think we all know just how devastating a lack of rainfall can be. Just think about the crops in your own yard or garden. And farmers growing corn or soybeans can see their entire crop wiped out when months of no rain occur. But did you know that a drought can be just as devastating for cattle ranchers and their livestock? It's a challenge as old as farming itself, the uncertainty that nature can bring each day and each season.
We started with an early, easy spring, and then when the middle of April showed up, the rains quit. So from mid-April through May and June, which normally gives us good rainfall, we got zero.
That zero rainfall has been crippling to cattleman Gary Rowlands. The lack of moisture and withering heat impacted pasture land and sent hay prices soaring. With feed too expensive, Gary was forced to begin selling off his livestock.
I've sold about 20 or 25% of my cows, and I'll sell about that many more. Some of my neighbors have sold all their cattle.
Gary's family has been farming this Arkansas land for more than a century. Gary even has the original 1893 land grant from President Grover Cleveland, awarding the farm to his great-grandfather David. Gary says he and his family watched as the drought turned spring's grassland to summer's dusty fields. What did it look like?
Brown. It went from green to brown. All the grass went away. We kept thinking, well, someday this will stop. It just kept going until everything was gone.
The U.S. Drought Monitor classified the Rowlands farm as a D4 category, an exceptional drought, the worst level, the worst in decades.
It's affected everyone that's in the industry, not just the guys that grow the crops and raise the livestock. The fellows that have the tractor dealership downtown, they're not selling those guys, they're not selling the equipment. Their repair shops are almost vacant.
It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Phil Sims is the Pope County Extension agent. He says you can't put a number on the drought impact on row crops, hay meadows, and pastures.
How does the drought ripple effect affect the consumers? The price of corn, it's skyrocketing. The price of soybeans is skyrocketing. And you're seeing any of your products that have corn syrup, that have soybean oil, and that essentially ends up coming out of our back pockets. In a higher way. In a higher way.
Cattle sale barns have been filled with farmers selling off their stock. But now, half the cattle herd here is gone.
We've sold 3- and 4-year-old cattle. The cows that we would be using to produce the calves next year, they went to Oklahoma and Texas to replenish their herds. Those cows that was next year's calf crop.
I see.
So we sold the factory.
So what do you say to the farmer who's struggling?
All we can do is try to coach them on how to be better managers for the future, how to do what they've done different so that they won't fall into the same trap they have this time.
Back at Roland's Farms, Gary's not giving up. Inspecting what's left of his herd, he plans to weather this drought and rebuild his cattle operation over the next few years.
I don't know of a more resilient entrepreneur than a farmer.
Well, you have to like it. If you don't like the business, you're not going to do well in it.
For more than 50 years, Gary worked the family farm with his father. Gary remembers his dad's advice about hard times.
Dad said, no matter what the adversity that came along, we'd get through it. And then he told me once, can't have roses every day. That's part of our heritage, and we still work through those days when we're not getting roses. And it's just my way of life.
Since the 1970s, the percentage of global land surface touched by drought has increased dramatically. The U.S. is no stranger to drought. Between 1931 and 1938, drought conditions reduced many parts of the Great Plains to a dust bowl. And much earlier, an extended period of drought in the 13th century destroyed a large number of Native American tribal cities in the Southwest.
Running a farm, like any small business, means looking out for your bottom line. And that doesn't mean just watching the cost of fuel rise or getting the right employees. For farms and ranches, they've got to look to the sky and worry about the weather. One woman farmer in Wyoming discovered that some bad news about rainfall actually turned into good news at harvest time. Welcome to Torrington, Wyoming. Farmers and ranchers in this southeast corner of the state say it's a great place to flourish as a farmer.
Goshen County is the largest agriculture producing county in the state of Wyoming since they started keeping records back in the 1940s.
But good crops depend on water. For this growing season, the news has not been good.
Since January 2012, we have had 1.8 inches of rain here, which is very unusual. We generally in this area have 12 to 13 inches of rain or moisture throughout the year.
Lois Van Mark is a fourth-generation grower. Along with her father, she operates a 2,000-acre no-till dryland farming operation. That means she doesn't till the soil and relies on rainfall to irrigate her crops. Normally, Lois diversifies her operation by planting a variety of crops, but this season the drought has forced her to grow only winter wheat. That decision is a financial gamble for farmers like her.
We only averaged about 16 to 18 bushels per acre. I think the average in this area is 25.
But one positive result of that lack of rainfall is a change in the wheat itself. The low moisture stresses the plant and affects one aspect of its yield.
Wheat is an interesting plant. When it goes under stress, it generally will produce pretty high protein content. And so we had some protein content of 14 and 15%, which is phenomenally high for this area.
Lois delivered her crop to a nearby grain elevator. A test sample verifies its high protein content, so Lois earns a premium thanks to the grain's increased market value.
You'll be able to market that to certain mills throughout the country that are looking for certain high quality, proteins to hit, whether it's for their flours or their pastas or their cereals, nutrition bars.
Bob Dietzler works with growers to test wheat quality and purchases crops based on commodity markets.
You can see that for 14.6 you would get 46 cents for that.
Yeah.
Now in some of these
Other market conditions have played out in Lois's favor. This season, market prices have increased significantly, and there's an added benefit for that protein premium.
She in reality got more along the lines of a better than $8.10 per bushel price. She had one load that went at 16% protein, so she's the new champion right now.
This is the highest we've ever sold wheat for, this price today, so we're very happy. And on top of that, we had very good protein contents in our wheat, and we got an additional bonus for the protein content, which is really exciting. So we're excited about that. And here's that sheet you were looking for.
Even Lois's father, who's been farming all his life, was astonished by the news.
I've never seen a 16% protein wheat. And we had one load that went 16. We had a lot of them at 15, and you get a semi-loads at that rate, you're really making a big impact.
Farmers here in Goshen County want consumers to understand the many variables that play out in determining whether you even get a crop and how much it will bring, and how something like drought can not only affect yield, but the very grain that makes its way to your table.
It's exciting for me to be able to say that in this area of the country, where it is so arid, it's consistently dry here, we can produce a quality wheat product year after year. The gratification for me is not so much that you're eating my wheat. The gratification is for me to be able to communicate to you, this is what you're eating, and this is what had to go into making that product that gratifies you and gives you nutrition. I'm glad to be a part of the cycle that produces the food that feeds this country and the world.
Let's talk about some foods made from wheat. Chocolate chip cookies make the list as perhaps the most popular cookie in America. The average American will eat more than 20 pounds of pasta each year. And by the way, Thomas Jefferson is credited with bringing the first pasta-making machine from Europe in 1789.
I'm Sharon Vaknin. Still ahead, we go from farm to fork with some special recipes using green beans, one of my favorite summer vegetables.
I'm Sarah Gardner. It's a creamery with a direct customer connection. Coming up, I'll take you to the Dairyland for milk and a whole lot more.
Hi, I'm Paul Robbins, and here's something you may not have known about agriculture. If I said tractor, well, you'd probably know what I was talking about. Specific machinery used to operate a variety of equipment on farms around the world. Tractors have dramatically changed the way that farmers work their fields, a change that started way back in the 1800s. Horses and oxen have been used to farm for hundreds of years, but by the middle of the 19th century, inventors were trying out steam as a means to power farm equipment. Farmers began hauling portable steam engines to farm fields to drive harvesting and threshing equipment. Two of the portable engines were sometimes used at opposite ends of a field to pull a plow by means of a cable. By 1870, rolling steam-powered traction engines, as they were called, were being used for plowing, but at the turn of the 20th century, internal combustion engines were replacing steam-powered models, and the word tractor had replaced traction engines. Well, by the 1920s and 30s, tractor production and use had exploded in the United States. Custom models were produced by firms like John Deere, International Harvester, even Henry Ford got into the act. The result was a dramatic growth in the number of farmers using tractors, along with the ability to work farmland faster and more efficiently. Crop yields increased. Supermarkets were able to offer a greater selection of new products for consumers. Tractors also produce some dramatic social changes. They reduce the need for as many farm workers, creating a shift in population to an urban workforce. Today, tractors are using global positioning systems to plant and harvest crops, and thanks in part to the tractor, farmers today can produce dramatically more food than their ancestors did 100 years ago.
Maybe you think that green beans are boring, but today we're going to convince you otherwise. Ron, you grow these babies, so tell me a little bit about your farm.
Green beans are just one of the different types of beans that I grow on the farm, and I like specializing in fresh beans. They're so much more flavorful and healthy. I also have fresh black-eyed peas, Crowder peas, speckled butter beans, cranberry beans.
You're like king of the beans.
I guess you could say.
Okay, so how labor intensive is it to grow these guys?
All of my products are hand harvested, so that's where the labor intensity comes in.
Well, we have some beautiful green beans right now, so let's make the most of them. What are you cooking up today?
Well, I'm going to make a green bean and egg burrito, garnished with jalapeno peppers and fresh tomatoes.
Sounds good. I'm making a green bean slaw, and the first thing we need to do is prep our green beans. We're going to blanch these for just a couple minutes to cut the bitterness. These guys are bright green and ready, so I'm gonna strain them and then immediately put them in a bowl of ice water. What this will do is keep them from continuing the cooking process so they stay crunchy and bright. Now let's prepare the rest of our vegetables. If you can make ribbons out of these guys, I'm going to julienne these peppers and the jicama. Jicama has a slightly grainier texture than green beans, which I like because then what we're doing is really bringing out the crunch of those beans. So now I'll get started on my red bell peppers. If you'll thinly slice the red onion, and I'm going to just mince 1 clove of garlic, throw the garlic in there, and then we'll do a little bit of rice vinegar, a tablespoon of honey, sesame oil, soy sauce, and now let's give it a whisk. Why don't you go ahead and drop these guys in there. I'll add almonds and sesame seeds. Pour our dressing over and mix the salad up. Let's do your green bean and egg burritos.
Okay. First of all, what we're going to do, snap the green beans just like we did before in your dish, but we snap them a little bit smaller. I'd like for you to add a little bit of lime. I like to use lime in place of salt to kind of cut the freshness,
Well, that's new to me, so I'm excited to see what this tastes like.
Stay tuned. Put them in the boiling water.
All right, how long should those sit in there?
We'll wait till the beans change color to show that they're cooking. We don't want them real soft, but we don't want them crunchy.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So now what?
I'll go ahead and slice this onion. If you'll dice some bell pepper.
Okay.
For the amount we're making, I think that would be enough right there.
Okay.
And then I'm also gonna have you dice the jalapeno. You decide how hot you want the dish. Okay?
Well, I have a high tolerance for spice, so.
Well, heat it up.
You can do it?
Heat it up.
Okay.
If you don't mind dicing maybe a tomato, maybe 2. Okay, if you can help me out here by cracking these eggs, and you can go ahead and whisk. And then I'm gonna saute these bell peppers, jalapenos, and onions. Then I just put in the green beans, kind of stir them in, mix them up just to get them warm a little bit. Pour the egg in and scramble it in, the texture or doneness that you normally would have your scrambled egg. And then I'll let you go ahead and just roll the tortillas and make a burrito. Put the amount of tomatoes and fresh onions and jalapenos that you would like in there.
We have 2 beautiful green bean dishes, and neither one of them is a green bean casserole. All right, let's dig in.
Have you ever had raw jicama? These are good.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So the next time I'm in a store and I'm shopping for green beans, what should I look for?
Well, of course, you look for the color, bright green. It appears that it's fresh. And then you try to snap it. If they're crisp and they snap, then you know they're fresh.
Well, I think that with our teamwork today, we have proven that green beans are anything but boring.
I agree.
When you go to the store, you want choices, different flavors of ice cream or cheese, for example. A lot of customers want organic options in their dairy case. Well, here at Sassy Cow Creamery, just outside of Madison, Wisconsin, providing customers with choices is critical to their success.
Whether at the grocery store or elsewhere, surveys show that consumers today want more choices in their food selection. And farmers and ranchers are meeting the demand for more organic foods as well. The U.S. Department of Agriculture certified just 13,000 organic dairy cows in 1997. By 2008, that number had grown to 250,000 animals. Those statistics impact the kind of choices being made by farmers, numbers that played a role in production for Wisconsin's Sassy Cow Creamery. Back in 2000, brothers James and Robert Beowulf took their parents' dairy farm, split the herds in two, and began producing both organic and non-organic or traditional milk products.
And at my farm, we have 200 organic cows. And at my brother Robert's farm, we have 400 non-organic cows.
So are all your products both organic and non-organic from the creamery?
Oh, yes, we offer two separate lines. So some of our customers choose to purchase organic milk in some of our stores as well. And then some of our customers in store locations choose to purchase our non-organic milk.
With their dairy herd totaling several hundred cows on two separate farms, the Beowulf brothers provide organically grown feed to that livestock segment and traditional feed to their other cows. Between the two farms sits the production facility, a creamery built in 2008. Here, hundreds of pounds of cheese are processed. Hundreds of quarts of ice cream are manufactured. And more than 20,000 gallons of milk are bottled, each and every week, organic and non-organic, in separate production runs.
So this is where the cheese curd operation happens, right?
Yep, our cheese vat started at about 6 this morning.
How many gallons or ounces of cheese?
3,000 pounds of milk.
3,000 pounds of milk?
Yes.
So how many gallons of chocolate milk?
Oh, about 600 gallons.
600 gallons, what, once a week?
Yep, Thursday is our chocolate milk day.
The majority of the Sassy Cow dairy products will be delivered to grocery stores and supermarkets all across the state of Wisconsin. But the Beowulf brothers also saw a need to augment their dairy entrepreneurship with their own retail operation. Serving both segments of the buying public, their farm store offers organic and traditional milk. Oh, and did I mention they even have trading cards with pictures of the cows producing the milk?
And then there's the cheese making side of the business. Tell me a little bit about that.
For us, we do a small amount of cheese, but fresh cheese curds are popular, and so we do about one vat per week.
The cheese curds are packed as a handy snack food, with some of the product finding its way into Wisconsin schoolrooms.
We're also part of their school lunch snack program, and so we provided some cheese curds for them to take to the schools, especially in winter when there isn't fresh produce available for the program.
Sassy Cow also participates in the Buy Local, Buy Fresh program, where Wisconsin growers promote sustainable farms by selling their products to local restaurants.
A lot of their restaurant members use a lot of our different products, our milk, our heavy cream, and so we've made a lot of connections through their program with local chefs looking for local products.
As for the Sassy Cow Creamery, the Beowulf brothers hope to eventually turn the company over to their kids, who, they hope, will become fourth-generation Wisconsin dairy farmers.
Our parents had farmed and our grandparents had farmed on the same location here. And so, you know, what it'll be like for our kids, only time will tell.
That's going to wrap it up for this time. We're glad that you could come along with us to discover interesting people and places in America's heartland.
And remember, we want to stay in touch with you, and we make it easy for you. Just log on to americasheartland.org or follow us 24/7 on some of your favorite sites as well. We'll see you next time, right here on America's Heartland.
You can purchase a DVD or Blu-ray copy of this program. Here's the cost. To order, just visit us online or call 888-814-3923.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by the American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, dedicated to building greater awareness and understanding of agriculture through education and engagement. More information at agfoundation.org. Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. The United Soybean Board, whose Common Ground program creates conversations to help consumers get the facts about farming and food. There's more at findourcommonground.com. The Fund for Agriculture Education, a fund created by KVIE to support America's Heartland programming. Contributors include the following: